Imran Khan, real estate attorney at ARC Laws. Welcome to Lunch and a Divorce Lawyer.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you for the years of loyalty, love, and support. And I'm excited to be on this.
Awesome. So Imran, what do you do and how did you get where you are?
Awesome. Yeah. So my name is Imran Khan. I founded ARK Attorneys in Illinois, roughly 9 team members, 2 other partners, Lisa Rogers and Jules Measure. We are real estate attorneys. For over a decade, we did residential transactions in Illinois, over 1,000 transactions for the last half a decade or so, huge in production. In the last 3 years or last 4 years, we expanded to the commercial division. It's been very fruitful and a great expansion. Our title company division, first we acquired Greater National Title, G&T, and now we are in 36 states with 5 brick and mortar, around 140 people full-time in our team, including 30 people overseas. And it's been a journey. Commercial division has grown exponentially, and I'm focusing on managing its growth and acquiring competitors nationally.
Yeah, you got a lot going on. Yeah, I feel like I've known you. I know where we met. It was like at a networking group, maybe a dozen years ago. So yeah, it's exciting to just see it from the outside, Imran.
Thank you.
And to partner with you on, right? I mean, you've been a great asset to me as a referral source, as a person doing deals for some of our clients, for some of my family members. So that's been really cool.
Such an honor where a guy like you lets me work on their family's file. So I appreciate that.
Oh, my pleasure. So, hey, can we track back in time a little, maybe?
Please.
So at the beginning, like in the book of Genesis, did you start kind of doing specific residential real estate and then it kind of rocketed from there? What was your starting point?
Yeah, I mean, I love to get my trade secrets. I get this question all the time. I was on a podcast yesterday. And so when I started my practice, I focused on the suburban areas such as the North Shore, Skokie, Lincolnwood, Morton Grove. Then really focused second in DuPage. We had an office in Oak Brook, Carroll Stream, St. Charles, and that was very fruitful. Then I came to a business model where real estate franchisees, such as RE/MAX, a RE/MAX office throughout the state, let's say roughly 10 RE/MAX, they all have a title company, but did not want to run those entities. So I was able to get on the title company side into a joint venture where where the franchisees of RE/MAX owned a title company. It's called white labeling it. It's their title company, but the back end operation was me. And so when you have a brokerage that has 150 people, times that by 10, right? It's a snowball effect when you're in that ecosystem. So it started off, 2 franchisees, 3 franchisees that I ran their title company, and then it snowballed. And I was at the stage of purchasing competitors out and acquiring their team and having the best talent in our team. We are beyond blessed. I could not do what I do without our team, and people that work with me know that. And that's the quick synopsis of how it's scaled. And we're replicating that in the commercial side nationally. And so that's that. Real quick, what's going on currently, our industry is aging out, Peter. So everyone's usually about 60, 70 years old, and no one is entering the title escrow side. There's only 17 or 18 title companies in Illinois. People are not entering it. And so we own 2 of, 18 or so. And that's how I've scaled.
That sounds pretty, that sounds pretty cool.
Thank you.
Let's see here. Your firm, ARK Attorneys, are those your 3 initials?
Very good. Yes, I get that.
What are they? When I write your name, it's with I. It's not A. Help me.
Yeah, so I'm a Bengali descent, Indian nationality, essentially. In our culture, in the Indian culture, Bengali culture, the first son gets all the heirs, all the generations' names. So my full name is Aminor Rahman Ahmed Imran Khan, and you can't put that in any driver license or
Right.
passport. And so my passport has one variation, my ID has another variation, my legal ARDC has Amina Rahman Khan, but all my identifications have a variation. And so we just said, when I opened up in my bedroom in 2011, we just quickly registered online as ARK Attorneys LLC and just kind of stuck with it. And I get that. It's great. It's great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I like your branding. We're about to rebrand our firm, and my three initials are Peter Roy, PRO. So I like the three initials. So I'm copying you on that. But don't worry, I'm not doing real estate or title, so we can still be business partners.
We will always be business partners. More importantly, I would love you as a friend. So
yeah, you as well. Because your backstory is, am I out of my mind? Are you a Niles West graduate?
Correct. I am a Niles West graduate, class of 2003. I grew up in the city in Rogers Park area in a blue collar family. And then I graduated 8th grade from Lincolnwood. I moved from Rogers Park. My parents moved me from Rogers Park to Lincolnwood to have a better opportunity in education for high school. Cool. So I went from an inner city kid to a suburban kid the last couple of weeks. 8th grade, that was quite a transition, right? And that was really good.
Okay. No, I had that nugget in my head. I was testing my memory. I know a number of people from Niles West. I'm a Glenview guy myself, but so boy, what do you got for me? So you're doing real estate closings back in 2011, and I don't know, 5 years after. Are you ever running into any good like family law divorce war stories in your closings? Is there anything?
Yeah, I can do. Yeah, I can do them. I can do the most current one to the most back one. So the current one we have in our system, in our ecosystem, is that we did a closing in Park Ridge, Illinois. Roughly $200,000 is sitting in our escrow account. In order to not stop the file from moving, we do the transactions, and we have the divorce attorney say, "Hey, go ahead, close it. Put the seller's proceeds in our trust account."
Right.
And so that's what everyone says. Don't harm the transaction. I give you authorization to close. We'll reconcile after closing.
Right.
Okay. Imran's so jolly here. He does a transaction. And I did that in Park Ridge, put after payoff and all commission and all expenses, say $220,000 sitting in a trust account.
Yep.
And now neither party's counsel is getting paid, and neither party is answering to our team's email, and the money just sits in our account. I have now a mad ex-wife calling the office as if I can release the money. It's been 2 years.
2 years.
And then I like I said, being in 36 states, roughly $200 million goes through our trust account monthly.
Right.
Monthly. And at that level, we get regulated intensely. And I have all this extra money sitting there, and I constantly have to say, hey, this address, this situation, and it's unnecessary reporting. It's unfair on our billables, right? And that has happened off the top of my head half a dozen times.
I don't think that's, on my side of the table here, as the divorce lawyer part of this discussion, I was literally in court yesterday on a case that's just kind of whatever. It's progressing through let's just call it a normal divorce. And yeah, they were doing a refinance probably 4 months ago. And there was a big, kerfuffle. And now one of the lawyers is holding the money in trust because we couldn't agree to how to disperse the divorce proceeds. Now we have a divorce trial set for February. So, yeah, I don't really know how to get around that one. It's probably better to close. I mean, you don't want to let the buyer, or I guess this one was just a cash out refi, but
My feedback relationship, like you and I have, is
Right?
very important on my escrow holdbacks, right? Because you and I have, text messages. We have that great communication. We bounce ideas back off and we communicate. Unfortunately, the two other councils and our firm didn't have that relationship,
Yep.
and we were misled. And I think that relationship you and I had, you wouldn't have put me in that position.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't one of the litigants' attorneys hold the money? Like, why did like? I mean, if it's in the
Yeah.
trust fund, I mean, they're on the hook, kind of ethically. That's kind of.
Can I ask you a question? So I learned
Yeah, sure.
sometimes some divorce attorneys may not have an IOTA because they're small. You have a professional practice, big team, growing.
Right.
Is that a normal situation? I sometimes get the, hey, I don't want to handle this, account or reconciliation. Is that common, or guide me on that?
I'm surprised you would have heard that sort of perspective very often. I'm not saying I've never heard it, but I feel like unless somebody's doing like small fee and specifically and only like fixed fee, flat fee cases, how can you not have an IOLTA account? I mean, if you're a divorce lawyer, this very scenario that we're talking about is not uncommon. In the last year or two, I mean, I can think of just off the top of my head several times where, either I'm holding it or this issue's in play, right? Because a sale of a home is a huge issue in a divorce, right? It's often the biggest asset. So, I mean, do you as the lawyer really want to be holding the money and having to do the accounting? I guess,
No.
if you can avoid it, no, but is it better to be like inside the divorce case versus sitting in you're not just some real estate attorney, but I'm just saying, like sitting over there with the real estate attorney, that just seems foolish to me.
Yeah,
But
I hear you. There should be a state regulation, I guess, to dictate that.
yeah,
You gotta tap on some shoulders, Peter. Talk about it.
I'll do what I can. So good luck with that. And I mean, that is not an unusual situation, but the fact that I think you said 2 years, that's a head scratcher to me. Are we not getting near a divorce trial time where there's going to be a ruling on this?
So
you're not in that case, so I don't expect you to know.
And respectfully, I don't care, right? We just want the money out of our account. Yeah, and then it becomes a little hostile with our clients that we closed with, right? Ex-wife is calling my office. Then, the one of the spouses feel like we're favoring the other, where we were just a neutral party within the spouses. So, I want to prevent that, and I had a discussion with our managing attorney. We don't want to, after a year or two, one spouse is saying, hey, you favored the other spouse, that's why we're not getting our $220,000. And I want to prevent that going from the future. So we'll think about a procedure in play.
Yeah, I wonder if the rule shouldn't be, because like literally the case I'm thinking about, I was in court on recently. One of the attorneys is holding the money because the mortgage lender and whoever their escrow is like flat out doesn't do that anymore or something. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Sounds like they don't want the hassle. Because I know they were
Right.
kind of pissed. They were kind of pissed when this whole thing blew up. It's like, they were basically giving me your attitude, which is like, why are you pulling me into this divorce case? And so, so now one of the litigants is holding the money. And we have a divorce trial in February. So,
and just to make a final comment, remember, our firm, a law practice, is making between $500 to $800 on this deal. For keeping it 2 years in our pipeline, it's a diminished return, and so the attitude, and it becomes a hassle, and so we regret taking it. Right? In real estate, the money is in the title, insurance, and escrow side. So when you're charging a nominal amount and sitting in the account for 2 years, it becomes a diminished return.
right.
And everyone now, hands are off and fingers are on the law firm, right? Brokers don't want to talk about it. And so that's my 2 cents on it.
Yeah. in a lot of divorce judgments, what I've definitely learned just from, I wasn't always a great attorney, or, you're less experienced, and, hopefully I've grown and stuff over the years. It's like divorce judgments that really, you got to lay everything out in detail, or you're going to have these little fights without structure around it. Like, right after a divorce is entered, like, you got to have in there, like, hey, real estate attorneys, ARC attorneys, the real estate broker is going to be this, Caldwell Banker, blah, blah, blah. The price is going to be this, and it's going to be dropped every quarter. It's got to be in there tight, or that's just going to be fought over. Every little thing can be fought over post-divorce if you don't have it detailed in a court order. That to me is like the biggest rule of thumb I feel like that I've learned over the years. Is if you just say, like, we're going to sell this home, that thing's going to be in post-divorce litigation for 6 months. But if you really lay it out, you shouldn't have to be in court on kind of like those types of real estate issues.
Great learning point. So does that mean I should review, our processing team should review the post-judgment decree before it closes? So say a day or two before closing, we rush the closing so the timeline doesn't get affected. Our attorneys should talk to who, number one, and how do we get an outline and a forecast?
Well, see, to me, the best practice, if I'm the divorce lawyer, is, whether we're talking about a final divorce judgment or we're selling something like before the divorce is over by way of a temporary order, you got to get it laid out in an order, or like you're going to create this chapter of just, let's call it crap that you're dealing in. Whereas if you had a court order that said, hey, we got these proceeds of $200,000 and here X, Y, and Z is going to happen with it. And then like you have your coverage, you can cut it out, you can distribute it. So I think just something like that, it's like, you don't want to give away business, but like the idea of just having like the detailed game plan in a court order kind of is what you, as the third party attorney, not in the divorce, I feel like that's what's going to protect you.
Correct. I hear you.
So, yeah. But yeah, to me, that's the biggest thing, is just kind of that detailed game plan. I don't know what else I've been in on recently.
I have a couple of scenarios. I had a very, very common. We're doing closing, time to sign the deed. The deed, we have to state if it's primary residence domicile, we have to state both spouses on the deed, even though the recordings has one spouse. So if husband is married and lives in that primary home, I have to have husband and wife sign off, and that's called homestead law, correct?
Right.
What happens if the parties are separated and are thinking about divorce? And do you think I should place the funds in escrow until I get a written release from both potentially divorcees, or just go ahead and once I get the deed signed, husband and wife, and just split the proceeds equally, or give the proceeds to the person give the proceeds all to the person's names on the deed? Does that make sense? So let me give you, may I ask you your wife's name?
Sure, Regan.
So I'm selling your condo in Chicago.
Yep.
This is your primary domicile. You live here in this condo full-time, more than 6 months. So it says on the current recording, Peter Olson, a married man, is selling it. Because you live there and it's your primary domicile, Peter and your spouse have to sign off on the deed. If we have information that a divorce is about to be filed, or divorce is in the near future, the question becomes, and both spouses have signed off on the deed, how does our law firm protect itself? Do I split the proceeds 50-50 at the time of closing and get that in writing? Or do I just put all the funds in escrow and then have you guys give me something in writing? What would be the customary practice? I'm kind of seeing that a lot. So give me an example. Couple splitted, they're divorced, going to divorce, they don't want to for tax purposes until certain amendments are made for strategic business reasons such as cost segregation. They're telling me put all the funds in the all the $3 million of this home in Hinsdale into our trust account, and once the closing is complete, they'll divide it. My question is, the deed only has the husband's name. Do I, whatever they decide, should I put 50-50 separate for husband and wife, or just to protect our law firm? So what would you say there? Does that make sense?
I'm following it mostly. To me, the critical point where I would land would be like, is there an active divorce case pending, or is it just this hypothetical thing? I think
the clients are speculating divorce. They're telling us.
To me, if it's just speculative, I mean, I would say that if it's just speculative, I think you just follow the title on the real estate, right? If it's some guy's non-marital, if I own that thing, non-marital, I don't think you really need to think about it, my wife, in that situation. If you have a pending case, then I think I would act differently, meaning,
okay,
that's when I'd want a court order, or that's when I think I would escrow it, because that's a situation I'm dealing with right now. Really, this one I'm referencing. It's a non-marital home, but wife had to be part of the refi because of the homestead waiver. Yeah. And we have, and it's not as cut and dry as, hey, this is the guy's non-marital property, because there's all this law of like, oh, but they were married, and did she make some contributions to this non-marital asset? Is she entitled to some reimbursement for helping to fund the new bathroom and stuff? So I would be guided specifically by like, is there a divorce case on file or not? Because if there isn't, it's like, I don't think I would think twice about, who's ever the owner.
Okay, got it. I got it.
That's where I would roll.
Okay. Awesome.
So what else you got? You got anything else? I mean, that's a common one. I think, was that your most recent, or was that your first?
That was our first
divorce war story.
Yeah, divorce war story. What else do we have going on?
I was in court recently on, you ever run into people who you need to get a judge's deed for, like one of the parties? That's kind of easy peasy, but yeah, I was in a courtroom pretty recently on that issue, right? The idea that, right, we were ordered to sell this thing and both spouses own it. Now, Jill, the wife, ex-wife, won't sign off on it. So that's usually pretty common, pretty easy. I don't know. Do the title companies ever give people crap, or is that pretty common deal?
The title company, there's an overinsurance policy rider that's possible.
Okay.
All the funds again come to escrow. Let's talk about judge's deed. How long does it take from filing to actual getting that deed?
If memory serves me correctly, the last time I did it, I think, look, to schedule a motion in court is usually, it might take a minute, but if we can kind of create some emergency sort of scenario where it's like the deal's going to go away in 3 days if you don't sign this, judge, we could do an emergency motion, like the next day, but you never really want to bank on the idea that, right, a judge has to say this is an unforeseen circumstance and I'm going to deal with this fast instead of the normal, like 3 weeks or whatever.
And so you can provide that. What's the rough cost? This is a great learning lesson. So what's the cost?
Oh, judge's deed, meaning for the attorney work, or
for your work with filing fees, roughly. So say, hey, I have a closing next week. Spouses are battling. We don't want to lose this deal, especially in this recessionary market. Peter, right. Wife is not cooperating with us. I need a judge's deed. How much can I forecast or advise?
We would probably do that as a fixed fee, $3,000.
Perfect. Okay, so it's a
Yeah.
great learning lesson today.
Well, yeah, because it could be. I mean, right, as a lawyer, it's like, hey, if we need it in 3 days, I got to drop everything and everything I got planned the next 3 days. And the reality is it might be couple court dates, but I mean, to me, that's one of those things. It's not so much the complexity as it is like the urgency, right? It's important and urgent, so yeah. But yeah, those are usually pretty quick and easy. I mean, right? If you can connect the dots from, hey, it's Imran Khan, my friend, this real estate attorney. Here's the deal. You can give me the play-by-play. You ask the ex-wife to sign it 6 times.
Yeah.
As long as we can lay that out in emotion, a judge isn't right. A judge isn't. Right. What a judge is going to think the same way you and I were thinking in this earlier discussion. Like, they want the deal to close. And then if the money sits in your escrow account, we're back to that problem. But
yeah.
So yeah, those are real deals. But yeah, from where I'm sitting, a lot of like real estate related litigation in the family law world really should be avoidable if people like really lay it out, and either they have good experts to like consult with like you, or like early in my career, I did a lot of deals. So, I mean, my knowledge is dated, and I'm not doing any real estate these days other than like as a part of it myself, not as a lawyer. But, that knowledge is still very helpful, just kind of like knowing your way around, knowing your way around a deal. Cause I mean, it's so common in divorce.
Awesome. Are there other states you're practicing? We opened an office in West Palm Beach. Are you licensed in another state or just Illinois?
I'm just growing our Chicago business, rocking it out a little bit more. We're going really focused on one of our attorneys is a halftime fireman. This is a funny story, but true. So we've really gotten hooked up with first responder divorces because there's some very unique issues there with pensions and parenting time issues. And we also represent a lot of realtors. I mean, I've gotten some of those referrals from you, and I've just kind of really worked to market through the realtor networks pretty aggressively. Because, fundamentally, right, I'm a family law attorney, but I'm a small business person, and realtors are like small business people too. And so I know a lot about what's going on kind of like the business, but let's just call it small business issues. So those are some really narrow niches we're spending a lot of time in Run. But all in Illinois.
Awesome.
So well, how can we land this plane? Here's a funny question. I was looking at your website. See, I prepare for these podcasts. Do you really speak 6 languages? I think it has 5 on there, and one of them's not English, so I'm pretty sure you speak English. Maybe it's more than 6.
I speak 3 languages: Urdu, Hindi, Bengali. Understand bits and pieces of Arabic.
Okay.
My right hand person, I cannot operate with her, Alyssa. She's my assistant, and she speaks she's Filipino, so
okay.
I can't. She runs my life, so we have a good section of real estate from there, and she translates. Jules Measure, our partner, she's Russian, and so she speaks Russian / Ukrainian. And then Spanish speaker as well. So, but I personally speak 3 languages fluently.
Okay, so that's cool. I'm only at like 1.25, so very impressed.
Thank you.
So you talked about a lot of your business interests, the real estate, let's say as a lawyer, acquiring title companies. Is there a kind of I spoke to you about a couple of our niches at Chicago Family Law Group. Is there kind of like an ideal client or potential customer you're looking at? If I'm listening to this and saying, man, I want to.
Thank you. Yeah.
I want to sell a title company, or I want to sell a $6 million property in Florida.
Yeah. So residential real estate is our bread and butter. We call it grocery money. Thousands done annually across 36 states. But my particular passion is commercial real estate. We are huge in the hotel transaction sector, the gas stations transaction sector, and the industrial, like trucking terminal sector. That's becoming a big sector of our revenue. larger margins, and that's my interest. That's my current passion.
I see.
But again, residential real estate, which is defined 4 units or less, or condos in any
Right.
of the 36 states. We have 5 brick and mortar, Illinois being our flagship, Chicago, Oak Brook, and Skokie. Our second biggest market is DC, Maryland, Virginia. We have an office in Fairfax, Virginia, DMV, we call it.
Sure.
Third is West Palm Beach, Florida. Fourth is Spokane, state of Washington. We have a brick and mortar there with 2 people, and then we have Brookfield, Wisconsin. So those are heavy volume, and then everything else is remote for the other remaining states. And we're growing, and we're looking for competitors to purchase. They want to retire, so we get into some kind of agreement, or just
Right.
buy out other title companies. There's
And
not
you're
that many
doing-
title companies, by the way.
Yeah. The gas stations, trucking, terminals, and what was the third?
Hotels,
hotels.
slash motel.
You
Yeah.
doing those in Illinois or nationwide through your 36
And-
states?
Nationwide, 36 states. We did 76 million hotel closings in October. I have 17 million hotel closings this week. We've done a lot of the big hotels in the Rosemont area,
Sure.
and now it's growing in the red states because of politics or whatever they want to call it, and it's been great. It's been a fun ride.
Awesome. And Imran, where can people find you if they want to
Yeah.
sell their gas stations?
They can call the office anytime, 312-753-3142. My Instagram is Imran K101, IMRAN K101. I'm on LinkedIn, and email is info@arclaws.com. And thank you for that.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for joining us. And I'm sure you and I will be in touch soon. Thanks, Imran.
Thank you, Peter, for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
Mhm.